Okay, so welcome everybody. Okay, so I just want to, I know it's not going to be instant, although I have to, and sometimes I find that I like to talk things out loud to myself to try and decide things. Um, I think it helps. um, I'm actually thinking also that I might put this coffee, there's that whole thing of people drinking coffee on screen. I don't know, for some reason, it just, especially on a cold winter day, late March, but it's wintry out there right now. There's something that's just very comforting about it. Even if you're not drinking coffee, it's cozy. It's I almost want to say welcoming in a weird sort of way. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Nothing wrong with at least a little bit of coffee, right? But I've had some. It's not. I didn't make a super great one, so I think I'm going to put this over here for now. And hopefully I'll remember that. I have a door open here in this closet too. I'm also glad that the dog is being pretty quiet because he got himself into some trouble today. I think that's also better lighting wise a little bit, even though it kind of suppresses the lighting. So I guess one thing I want to say to those who watch after, because those who watch during aren't here yet. I just started. Not that it takes long sometimes. And yeah, I don't know. Like I say, as far as the thing, I don't know. It's only if this device is cooperating now, or if I go to the notifications and mention, it's kind of self-promotion. I seem to manage to get it without decline comments or any issues before, and it's not the worst of things. To do a bit of that, especially when you feel like you. Okay, now it says active 7 minutes ago there. Okay, so, but yes, it was getting to the point where I'd slept well enough. I needed to get out of bed, and this is the first morning I really actually noticed, like I was actually feeling worse being in bed. Although, sometimes initially when I first go to bed. So this is about health. This is about wellness. This is about, well, one of the things I mentioned in the title was memories, and the viewer goes. But like I was thinking about inviting somebody that has a last name similar to the last name of someone Glenn has lost in his life, who did actually very briefly come up today in conversation. And it's kind of like, I don't want to trigger him or mind him, but you know what? This is the thing that that's one of his favorite phrases too. When somebody passes away, regardless of how much we feel them around or not, we know that they've passed. I guess you can't see the smoke signals from this incense. When they passed, it makes a mark. It makes a mark. Rather, we never forget, and we might not forget them anyway, right? So, if it's just, before I do this, if it's just at this place I'm going to call, she's nice. She didn't ask the question, and I know I thanked her for that, but not that helpful, and she must have said it's a lot to go through. Well, I hope you get some answers soon, and sorry you're going through that. It doesn't sound very fun. I don't know if I didn't say a whole lot otherwise, if you would ask about updates, which I don't really have, about a couple of loved ones that are also having health problems, but not a lot of family, local living, and mostly acquaintances. So it's definitely appreciated. So I'm going to find myself in at least one, maybe two phone calls, but you're welcome to stay. And this has to go in the laundry later. Maybe even now. You're welcome to stay and weigh in. I don't know how helpful this call is going to be, and I might have to be on hold for a bit, although it's early in the morning, so I might be all right, and it's kind of cloudy out. Somebody was here for a few seconds. But yeah, I can't rely on getting answers here because sometimes it's very hit and miss. Thanks for being good, Sonny. Yeah, that was the other thing I was gonna say. I think Lynn was just trying to make me work and not be too worried. But the dog got a little less than half of the muffin. I left it at something, and he went and got it while I was briefly in the kitchen, like very briefly. And I think he ate the wrapper. I put him in the creek. It wasn't good that he did that. It's fairly healthy muffin, had a lot of butter on it, and I guess I'm a bit worried about that. But there's a few little crumbs here. It's actually quite a bit better still on the plate. Oh, and it was salt too, because they weren't super fresh. So honestly, they could both be quick at this time of day. Did I go down and turn off the heat? I meant to. Especially since I have that on in my native flow. I feel like I did, and that was the only thing I went down for. But to be sure. Yeah, I think I did. But I'm halfway there. Water's everywhere. There's not a lot in there. This one's cold. I could double those up. Okay, hi. So we have somebody here. What I'd like to know is if you're willing to engage a bit. And if so, feel free to put a comment. I'm on hold on a call. I don't know how long I'll be on hold, and you're welcome to weigh in. I haven't spoken to a person yet even. But yeah, this is about health and life. And I may or may not be up to doing some music if you have a song request. People document, do like video journals or whatever, their lives, often on the internet. And it becomes part of their legacy too. I know some people that have passed somewhat recently that haven't, and they have been a bit older too, but not a lot, like in their 50s or 60s, but the person left. But and so this is for loved ones left behind and me to look back at and you. I'm just putting one water into the other so I can get rid of this bottle. Yeah, turn the heat off so I don't know why it's so warm. Well, it's been on for a while. It's going to take a bit of time. People like to say when it snows, it's actually warmer out. Don't know if I would agree, but sure. Put that on the other lid, I guess. I don't want to listen to this music for too long, though. I don't know what it does on hold with the other thing I'm thinking of calling, but I might do so. The only thing is, as I mentioned, I don't have a lot of family and mostly acquaintances, and I'm going through some health stuff. It may or may not be the full focus of this video, but and it's kind of like the viewer goes, screw you, you don't care. Well, I mean, you can't necessarily, I don't know, it's either like or dislike as far as reactions other than the comments on here, right? But it's probably not somebody we know, so I would have actually posted this privately, but I don't mind people weighing in, and last time I tried to do that on here, it didn't work. Didn't actually post. I probably don't know this more strongly. But it's do I want empathy and perhaps a little bit of knowledge, or do I want just the knowledge and maybe very basic, very generic type of empathy, for lack of a different way of putting it. Like, we have a health phone line thing, and I don't use it, haven't used it very often, but I'm thinking about using it today. I know I am feeling a little bit better actually since getting up, believe it or not. But it's been really hit and miss. So we do have someone that's been here for a couple minutes. Welcome. Like I say, if I do happen to hop into a phone call here, you left, so I'm not going to repeat myself. People that see this afterwards can already hear it. Not exactly saving breath and saying this, but yeah. So I just wanted to, before this gets too much into things, I do want to say that I have enjoyed some of my life. Certainly, living with Glenn and his company. Some other interactions I've had. Some things. And I know Monday's not super far to wait for my appointment, but the weekend doesn't feel like, well, he has his routine things and I might be able to, but I don't know. I feel like doing this now. Getting some support on this now and not having to make it something I wait for. I have all day to let myself be distracted by other things. So, but yes, I didn't forget how annoying this hold music is and repetitive. And I'm talented. We should be the hold music, but then you don't want to trigger people, so have to be not super well-known songs. You never know what somebody's going to know. But yeah, if you just do this, then it won't. Unless I leave it open. But it's like, what's this title about? I'm curious. Has Hasn't been that long, but like I say, very repetitive music, as I keep repeating. And it's not a matter of can't get there. They'd send an ambulance if I wanted one. I just don't think that I want to be in that kind of environment right now. And that the hospital, the emergency room, and here goes. They also prioritize, so I don't know. They might do a couple quick checks, I don't know. But no, I can get easily overwhelmed. And just because it's early and snowy, people get there in various ways if they feel they need to be there. But it might not be the most severe, so I might not. I'm also not sure. This didn't come up the first time. It's only going on 9 minutes, but that's plenty as far as I'm concerned. Now, I don't know whether to call what says toll free 188, but it's a local thing anyway, so what would it matter? Email a resident. It would be good to get, like it's hard to get to any other doctor and get another doctor. Hello, who's speaking? Good morning. My name's Corey. How are you? I'm okay. I mean, I'm calling the line, but it was actually, it hadn't been super long, but I know that there's one other potential option I could have called. I don't know if it would be better or not. Basically, I am, I've since getting up this morning, I am feeling a tad better, but I'm a little bit worried about my health right now and also about our dog, because our dog got, when I wasn't looking, got half of a muffin off of a plate, which of course had butter on it, and I think he ate the wrapper too, because I didn't see that anywhere around, and so it's hard because I don't have a lot of family and mostly acquaintances, and I don't drive, so whether I had to get the dog to the vet or me to a hospital, it wouldn't be easy, and basically, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I guess your background and knowledge on medical things. I know that I went to, and sorry if there's a bit of a rattle on the line, I'm noticing it, but anyway, I know I went to the doctor a couple of days ago. I haven't met him a lot, but a few times, and honestly, and actually, I don't know whether I should have done this before I called or not, but I was actually thinking of looking up some reviews. I know a few weeks ago I found myself doing so, and I mean, you find mixed things really, but I mean, some of the ones that weren't necessarily positive, um, I might say I've had somewhat similar experiences. He's not terrible, but I do feel like he's maybe not being as thorough as he could be. And I noticed that he talked kind of fast, and this is me saying it, and usually I don't notice that with people. It seemed to be just at certain points though. But and basically, I like one thing that's kind of slightly bothering me is that I got tests done, what I thought was pretty basic tests, but I guess they are able to supposedly see a lot from them. I would say about a month ago. And so as much as I was kind of wanting to know, what the results were from that, and found out that there was nothing hugely concerning, it was kind of like he was kind of thinking like that's recent enough, to be recent enough. And I'm not sure if it is. And I would also come to think of it as I'm kind of verbalizing this for the first time, maybe even thinking it for the first time, I would say that some of the symptoms are more noticeable than they were then. Back then, I was noticing something that I'm still somewhat experiencing these days, but differently, I would say, or not as, yeah, differently, which I kind of was doing some Googling ahead of time, and he seemed to agree that it might be something, I want to say it's called chromostasis or something like that, which is pretty much inflammation of the chest area. And basically, but yeah, I've been having tight chest. Last night I felt like I was having shallow breathing. I've been having some back pain, just feeling weak in general. Like I thought that yesterday, I wish that these things were slightly documented a bit better, or that I was able to kind of go back and refer to the conversation better than just my memory does, or that he was easier to reach.
To see your doctor, you were a little bit upset from the results. Is that was it because the doctor didn't want to send you for new testing, or how come?
He didn't really suggest it, and I guess I didn't either, really. But basically, yeah. So basically, but he was definitely going by those tests and thinking that well, it seems to be a mystery at this point in time. Like I say, a month. About, yeah. Changed, or I've gotten some new ones, yeah. And basically, and the one thing he did kind of say might be one of the things, and it could be more than one. Oh, before I forget, I kind of trailed off from a previous thought. I mentioned to him, I wondered if I might have anemia, I think is how you say it. And yeah, he kind of seemed ambivalent, or didn't really say yes, didn't really say no. And it's kind of like I actually have a former contact who has that, but it's not someone I've been in touch with. She's younger as well, younger than me, I think, actually. And I also wondered if it might have been diabetes, but they're saying my levels are good, and a month ago, like I say, he's saying a month ago would be accurate enough to tell whether that was the case or not, and I'm surprised by that.
That you really voicing your concern of maybe you would have liked for them, for the doctor to have asked you to do testing again, right?
Yeah, I mean, they do so many of them that unless you contact them, and I remember the one day or the one absence getting them that time, I did try once near when they opened and I couldn't get through. And I had been a little bit ambivalent, I guess. And and then also I kind of thought like, part of me thought, oh, if there was something that they felt I should know, they'd tell me. But then there's part of me that thinks, well, no, if you don't ask, they might not. Um, but well, in learning that fairly basic tests. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's lying on this. Can determine various things. Possibly the first thing I'd actually had done, because I didn't think that I had broken any bone or anything in my chest area or whatever, but we thought it ended up getting me the day I saw him actually that time, and there's some memories from that day which actually kind of might be worth unpacking a little bit. But basically, he sent me down for an X-ray, and they did say that. Well, no, she did actually. She said if you didn't hear anything, then that was usually good. But I seemed to be saying if there was reason to contact me, they would. But I seem to remember I must have had a phone appointment with him between then and the testing and the most recent time, because like apparently that can tell you things about organs, and he said everything was fine. But yeah, it's interesting to think about how, like, I feel like things might be different than they were even then, because then it was mostly just the chest thing for the most part. Well, the good thing is, well, yeah, I do and don't know myself best. I thought that too. The good thing is that sometimes, and in fact, when I booked the appointment yesterday, I kind of got squeezed in, but otherwise they did have availability today. I don't know how quickly that changes. And he can do by the phone. I just don't know if I really feel, but I don't have a lot of other option. I feel like I don't really know if I feel like he's all that great a doctor. um, no. Instead, I saw them yesterday when I called. So those were the two options. So I could try and get one today, and I could do it by the phone because I sure as heck don't want to go out in this weather. It's supposed to be spring, but isn't. And because I would have to speak to him just simply to request the test results. But at the same time, I don't know if he would cooperate about that. I think he might possibly say, I told you yesterday that everything was fine and you don't need to get them again. At the same time, there is the truth of that he should realize that it's up to the patient. And if I really want to, I
Possibility of asking, right? How do you feel about, if maybe the conversation was not to go how you expected and you were to be the one to ask, I would feel maybe more comfortable if those tests were done again.
Yeah, because
the symptoms have changed. Did you voice that yesterday at your appointment?
well, I did say what I was experiencing, and it was more than before. But it's interesting how things can be so connected to other things that the body does, because like I might not disagree with him. I mean, within the fact of, and he did do a little bit of a test in the room there, of the fact that I might have carpal tunnel. So my little joke since then has been there's light at the end of the carpal tunnel. But anyway, and because I'm noticing like even like stiffness or sometimes numb feeling in my hands too. and every now and then the feet as well. And so that might be accurate. And I mean, I guess it makes, I mean, I don't know, people in those professions, you could say in some ways they might be a little bit tainted because they just see so much, or they just kind of, they can wrong diagnose things because, or whatever it is. But also, like I say, it in a way could be very hard because you could think, okay, I would say it's more this, but the thing is it's only that. Is it only that? And so basically, the thing is that it's been it's been fluctuating really, but I would say it's been close to 2 weeks that I've been experiencing this stuff, most noticeably. And it's kind of like I have guesses, and more than one could be correct, but I'd just like to know what the heck's going on. I don't think I could just go into, and again, I wouldn't be doing it today unless it suddenly gets nicer out. At least it's not super icy because there's some snow on the ground now. But I don't think I can just walk into the testing clinic, or maybe some other clinic. I don't know if just like a walk-in clinic getting tests requires the doctor asking for it or not. Do you? Or can we just go in and ask for it ourselves and say, this is my doctor? I mean, we would, yeah, because they know how to read it. Well, I mean, going over the results more in depth, I guess I feel like he, even though he like didn't show me anything, I felt like he was looking at them and telling me what he felt he should tell me. And I don't know if I would have understood or not what he was looking at otherwise. I know that when I've been to the dentist, sometimes they'll show you the diagrams of the x-rays and it makes enough sense to me and it's helpful. But I mean, and that's the other thing. I've been kind of, well, it's amazing also what dental problems can cause too. And I've been a couple times recently, and I should probably go for a couple more things, but I've been kind of putting it off. And it's just now it's kind of like I don't know, like what I should do. But I am glad that I reached you because this morning I had the thought of possibly calling Health Links, and I'm kind of surprised it hasn't came up yet. But then I thought, as much as it would be important that they're medical, I didn't know if I'd get the kind of, if I'd be able to really have like the conversation that I felt I needed to have, or the support or empathy necessarily. And as far as transportation, I mean, they can send an ambulance out. I don't really feel like I want, I mean, we could say, oh, it's snowy and yucky and it's early in the morning. But I also told myself, if people really feel they need to be at a hospital, and some people would easily get there, but themselves or whatever. And that's the other thing. There's ambulance fees. If I was to do that, then it could be busy there, and it's not really the environment I want to be in. And I may not be considered the most important case there. And I think there might be a way to look up wait times. Online. I'm just not exactly sure how. If it was to be anywhere, it would be the St. Boniface Hospital. Well, like I say, I haven't been up super long, so I mean, I'd rather not. I don't know. I don't think it's only this, but I also wonder if I might have a mild flu. Like I'm noticing my nose has been a bit runny this morning, but yeah, basically, and I think because I actually did sleep pretty well, and I usually do. I think it was kind of like once I finally woke up, it's like I have a bit of a morning routine, and so does my spouse. So I was waiting for my spouse to kind of come, and I've been kind of hesitant to share my with him, by the way, because I don't want to get him worried and this and that. And in fact, I sent out an email to a few people, and one of the ones was a former counselor I had who ended up calling my spouse at work didn't say a lot, but said that she was concerned because of an email or whatever. And luckily, my spouse was pretty good about me saying, "Oh, that must have been a mistake message or something like that," and hasn't really asked much. But basically, and I have since sent her. She also then decided to email me, and she had suggested calling these lines, and I thought, I don't know if what I'm going through, that's what I should do or not, and that I didn't appreciate that she'd done that, and that in essence I was trying to reach out again. Like she said that she's not currently someone that works with me. One of the things that I could only keep seeing her under our coverage, which had a certain cap. So it was about 4 sessions. The other thing, I kind of did feel like I do feel like I verbalized it, and I don't know if she took offense to it or not, because I may not have been the first person to have said it. And I said, basically, even though it's covered, like I say, only like a few sessions a year, and I said that the amount that they otherwise charge, and it went up like $10 in the new year, so not a lot, but felt kind of, I think the word I probably used was immoral. Like it just felt like they were almost more in it for the money. And I think I actually did say that. Well, I felt like I had to give her a reason, but I actually remember her response at the time was that there are places that are more expensive. And maybe there are, but that's kind of beside the point. But yeah, so basically, like I say, I it would be good to know what's going on. I guess the truth of the matter is, like, and I didn't want to go there, but maybe I do kind of. Basic.
You wanted to go over those results a little bit more. And did you mention also to your family doctor yesterday about this flu-like symptoms, or no?
Not really, because I thought it could just be the other things, and it's been kind of almost just as of this morning or last night, maybe I would say. Well, here's the other thing. Like, if he agreed to me, and I think I would have the final say, or I should, if he agreed to me getting the tests again, like I just don't think that, and this is why I would book the appointment by phone, which is an option, but to get the tests, it wouldn't be. And I wouldn't be able to go do it today. I don't know if I could do it on the weekend.
There's also, from my knowledge, there's also options to have the test request faxed to the location where you want to do it, right?
Yeah, okay, I understand that, except that it's not exactly like the place is far, but on foot in weather like this, how I'm feeling, it would seem to be. Yeah, yeah, and like I say, so I'd have to go in there to get them done, and I don't know if they'd be open on the weekend. My spouse is home on the weekend, and I think has knowledge that that's that's the place I'm referring to. Okay, but at the same time, like I say, first of all, I don't think that the weather is necessarily going to be, from what I recall seeing, the weather is going to be necessarily any better, and I don't really. I think in one side of things, my spouse would be happy that I'm trying to figure this out. Actually, it doesn't look all that bad. It's actually the same both Saturday and Sunday at this point. Um, but at the same time, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know how long my spouse has a health condition too, and it's not super severe, but like, I understand it can't be with him at work, but when we otherwise can be with each other, we do try to be, and we are at home quite a bit. And so if I went out, I'd be tempted to say, come with me, but I don't really think that's what, especially if the weather's not bad. I mean, with all the snow, I mean, it almost felt like the garden was going to slowly start popping up, but not the case now. But yeah, maybe it is. So,
concerns that you have about your health, and those questions have not been asked, or not asked necessarily, but not answered yet by your doctor. And that can sometimes be very overwhelming, right? This is something that we always have to ask on our calls, but I do have to check in on you. And
well, and I usually hate the question, and I'm not going to say I hate it less today. And in some ways, like, I mean, I know I sound like I'm obviously concerned about myself, my health, which would be a contradiction. However, I did almost say it, and it kind of veered a little bit. And well, I know I said that I was a little bit ambivalent, and that is still the case. And so, I mean, here's the thing: it's like, I guess, and I think maybe we've talked in the past before. So, I mean, some of this may or may not sound like the answer before, and it pretty much always would be, I think. Like, I don't, and I know that my spouse would probably be happy to hear this. I don't feel like I could do something to myself, but I feel so frustrated and defeated by life sometimes, where it crosses the mind, essentially. And when I'm feeling these health things and feeling in more discomfort, as much as I'm trying to make myself as comfortable as I can in it, it's kind of like, if I, there's definitely a part of me that's okay if my health takes me, but I'd rather it not be prolonged about it, like it's being, but so it's kind of like, but I mean, it's not only that. Like I say, it's the getting there in this weather. That would mean that I wouldn't go there today, and I know from my spouse's health condition that that if I was to ask for an ambulance, which I've actually never ridden in one, unless I was really young, it's going to be like $300 or $400, which may or may not be partially covered. That's the thing I'm not sure. I guess I could call a coverage plan. I did find the card the other day. I thought I misplaced it, although I hadn't moved it from the thing I have it in. But again, that's just it's gonna be to get there. Then I'd have to share with my spouse that I was in an ambulance, I mean, and it's not like I'm doing hugely anything else. But I can be sometimes light sensitive, and I know it can feel very bright in there. It could be very hectic in there. I'm not necessarily. I mean, I think what you're trying to ask is, am I feeling that it's not at that point? I think that's what you're asking. Okay. Well, I mean, like I say, I think even though I slept well, which was great, I think when I woke up, just simply, and I think that this actually could be part of the cause of some of the things I'm experiencing. Actually, I, for the most part, have been living for the past, honestly, past years. This is, of course, not to say not to say that I have been completely this way, but I've been living a very sedentary lifestyle, which is part of the frustration, to be honest, because it's kind of like I've thought of it a few times. Like, I could have waited to talk to my worker on Monday. Just, I have nothing going on today. I was feeling what I was feeling, and it's not to say that I won't, because I sent her an email too, and actually my old worker. and it was kind of just wanting to update them. And with the old worker, I wouldn't necessarily want to say it to the current one, they know each other. It was kind of also, there had been a thing that had happened. And it wasn't exactly personal, but it had disappointed me. And it was kind of like, I sent to an email to a couple people, kind of just, updating the health and this and that. But it was, in essence, like to her, kind of like, see, the thing is, she wished me the best when the workers, when I decided I wanted to switch workers and everything. And that was nice of her, and she wasn't mad. I guess I was a little bit mad at the whole situation, though, I guess. So I guess it was kind of like, and look at me now. I don't know, for lack of a different way of putting it. But I do feel like I have been withering away in life. And I know that maybe sounds strong, but I do feel like I just have not been in my 30s, most of them, living quite the life that I wanted or envisioned. Some things are good, and that it's kind of like, this comes in with the ambivalency as well. And it's kind of, so one of the things that Dr. Head actually said was, to look at me, like he didn't even weigh me, and that annoyed me at first, and he's not done that twice. And I guess there was a part of me that thought it's a small thing, but there's also, like, this morning I thought about it, and I thought, well, looking at me, even if he doesn't see me often, I don't think he'd say I don't think I'd say I'm overweight. I sometimes say I have a bit of a Buddha belly, and it ain't getting smaller. but so I and measuring my height, that's just a more curiosity thing, I would say, more than some of the others.
For me, that is something that bothers me as well. If they don't take a look at you, I guess, a little bit more, right? Because sometimes you don't know if they're only just asking questions, right? So that's something that, for me, I also feel more comfortable when I also get my height and weight taken. If you don't.
Well, I don't know if that's, and I am kind of not about it. I don't know if that would be maybe something that may be more specific to gender. Like I said, I'm not too concerned about that. I would say that I'm in average shape, but that I could be in better. Like I was watching a couple of YouTube videos the other day, and things about healthy eating and stuff like that, and how some things are easy to reverse or whatever. And part of me thinks, like, if I just, and I this past few days have not been bad. I mean, we've eaten out a couple of times and things. I don't know. I'm not, I can be creative, but I'm not necessarily a fancy cook, and I'm picky. So like I've been eating a bit more vegetables the past few days, and it's weird because I'm not a huge meat eater either. Like I eat a lot of carbs, and that's maybe not a good thing, but it's easy. It's what I like. Um, you know, I'm not eating a lot of fast food or anything, or fried food or anything like that. But yeah, so part of me thinks, and that's the thing about the doctor, like he's very medical, and sometimes I'm wondering if, it might be better to have somebody that's a bit more holistic, which, I mean, again, I can look up things on the internet about that. And one of the things he did say was, maybe being more active. And, that doesn't have to necessarily be playing sports. Like I am kind of eager, and if I'd been feeling better and if the weather had been better, I actually have, aside from wanting to get it done, I actually have another reason why I wouldn't mind taking my bike in to get looked at before I start riding it. But I'm not going to be riding, like, I mean, my spouse bikes to and from work most of the time, even in the winter, but had said, like, today, if hadn't gotten a ride, which he did, that he probably wouldn't have went in. And I'm glad that I mean, even though my spouse would have, has a bit of a fitness routine himself, actually, I would have had, the privacy probably to do this call. And the days are lonely sometimes, it's true. And, he's away for 8 hours a day, and that, but at the same time, I also like the time to myself. That I can look forward to today. Well, when you put it that way, this is the thing. I feel like, somewhat like lately in my life, there's not a whole lot that I am looking forward to. But if I was to say some things, I mean, every day it's kind of like once my spouse leaves for work, it's my spouse getting home. That's one thing. I me and my spouse have some contact with somebody who maybe doesn't even realize that we're partners yet, but who is actually he's the technical director, I believe he said, for I don't quite understand the logistics of it. Basically, him and some other performers from Montreal are, for some reason, I think they're kind of touring actually, wanting to do a performance in Winnipeg, and it's actually not super far from where we live, which means that like, and I don't know if any of them have been here before, but I have offered. He hasn't said much about it, but I have offered to kind of help them find the venue to go to the show. And yeah, basically, and it's handy because, like I say, uh, accessibility to get to things is something that I often feel limits me. In this case, it doesn't. So that is, I forget the exact dates, but it's early April. How I came to find out about it was actually he posted in a musicians group that they were looking to rent a couple instruments. And it's kind of because, traveling with instruments is not necessarily, people will do it, like flying, but it's not necessarily the easiest. And we happen to have a lot of instruments. And so he seems like he is interested in possibly renting something out from us. So it's kind of a mix of a new contact forming. He got to see a little bit. He was also kind of working, but got to see a little bit of one of my YouTube videos the other day, and learn a little bit about me. And something where it's I was sharing something which some people will believe in, some people won't. He seemed to be mostly okay about it. And then the actual going to his show. The only other thing, because there's lots of uncertainty, that I'm mostly looking forward to, aside from spring and the garden, although we live on a corner and it's fairly busy with a church and a school nearby, is festivals. One in particular that I volunteer at, there is a little bit of anxiety this year that I don't usually have, but I think I know what I would do if I needed to. But I always look forward to that time of year. Like I say, I wouldn't be able to really go to that many shows if I wasn't a volunteer receiving the perks that let me, essentially. So there's some really nice things about it. There was something, I've been doing it for like 15 years. There was something that happened last year that has never really happened before. Elements of it had being reported hadn't until recently. And basically, so at one point in time, I'd asked if they'd be a reference for me, if I needed a reference for it, which, that's something that I'm lacking. I honestly, and I feel like with some of the health stuff, it maybe, well, it doesn't necessarily make it more pleasant, and the the feelings I have sometimes in some ways may not be doing good for my health. But basically, I don't know how I get through the days sometimes. I mean, there's been a couple of times recently where I felt like the days have went at a pretty good pace, and there's also been a couple of times where I've went out and done something. But I mean, whether it's accessibility or cost, I mean, I've come into some money that's been making me feel pretty good. Of course, it never lasts, but we've been doing pretty all right. And I feel like I've mostly earned it helping my spouse sell some things, us sell some things. And so that's, if it was better weather out, I mean, with this health stuff, it really seems to be fluctuating. So I could say right now, it doesn't make me feel like I want to do anything. In a little while, I might feel more like that, but the weather. Yeah, I can understand that you may have forgotten. My spouse works at donation center, and sometimes they get food items, and I think it's when stores are making room for new stuff, and somebody doesn't want them to be stuff to be wasted. It's kind of a nice thing. They bring them there. So I had a sem. It was the package was sealed, and it was a muffin, that type of muffin, not that I eat them often, that me and my spouse both like. I feel bad because there was only four of them, and I said I want them for my breakfast because I don't eat a lot of breakfast foods. But my spouse did remind me that he likes them too. But kind of also was saying, he has other stuff he can have or whatever. But basically, I had that not super fresh muffin, and the dog had a quarter of it. Like I was like, and yeah, and I'm worried about him too. Like I mean, I put him up in his crate kind of as a bit of light punishment. I mean, now he's sleeping happily in it, but it's kind of like if I mean, my anxiety about that happening has definitely gotten up there, and but again, we can't really afford to go to a vet. It wouldn't be under our coverage. They're getting there, even if it's not that far. The vet's often pretty expensive. I mean, if he's not showing any bad symbol or symptoms, but not only having that with a bunch of butter, and I think one, I do like salt, and two, because it wasn't super fresh, I put a bit of salt on it, so that's not good for dogs. I normally wouldn't put salt on muffins, but and the fact that he ate the wrapper. Oh, okay.
They seem to be okay.
Oh, well, that's okay. What kind of dog do you have? Oh, yeah. Okay. I was saying what kind of dog you have, but maybe you don't have one at the moment. But I mean, that's good to know. I mean, like I say, there's a little bit of worry for the fact that I mean, it was a healthy muffin, but like the stuff that was on it and the wrapper, those are the things that worried me the most. Otherwise, I would say, yeah, but I'm worried about the wrapper getting lodged or not coming out. You know?
Play it by ear. Just make sure that after they go to the bathroom, maybe kind of take a look. Sometimes it comes out on there, and sometimes also if it's the wrapper of the muffins tends to disintegrate. It's paper too, right?
Okay, that's true. I guess I'll try to tell myself that, but if I find that I need to, I might get somewhere just simply calling the vet and talking to the desk person. I mean, yeah. But yeah. So other than that, though, like one thing that kind of annoys me is, I mean, and we had a good morning before my spouse left. I mean, I like to get up, and like I said, this morning I really felt like I needed to move around a bit. Well, I'm trying to kind of answer the question that you had though. Basically, as I mentioned, it can be hard to get through the days and that, and I even not feeling well, like I don't know if I'd be able to get back to sleep. Part of me would just like to try and get more sleep. I just like to say I don't know if it's going to happen, and so I think it will be a challenge, especially with the discomforts that I'm feeling. To what am I going to put in my day? There is I want to say two other quick things. Basically, almost.
Get some rest and see if you need to call the vet to get a little bit more reassurance and wait for yourself to get home. So it sounds like we do have something.
Okay, but I must admit, and I don't know, I saw a couple times in the beginning. I must admit that that was not that helpful. That was Val at a certain place, which is ironic because I kind of associate that with Well, there is Valerie, but she's busy. She works. She's got her kids. So that some of them may not be in school today for whatever reason. So I was a little bit more open in some ways there. But before you just outright think I'm gay, I'm bi. So there you have it. But that was kind of stupid of her to think that waiting for my spouse to get home was much of something to do. I mean, but she's like, oh, it sounds like you've got a plan there. Stupid. So that's another reason. Aside from tiredness, that's another reason why I didn't. And Jackie's dumb too, so. And even though she was open to the email thing, I think just for bookings. So she's dumb too. And what's the other thing about her? I was not saying anything new. We did say something new in social, though. Yes, I have to look at that later. It's funny. I knew Jessica had a brother named Kyle, and on the same street was a Kyle Smith, and that's Jessica Smith. So it's weird, ironic. It's actually a fairly common last name. It's our neighbor's last name, I think. But yet, I don't hear it very often. I'm online a lot, and I still don't hear it very often. It's really kind of odd, actually. It looks like Messenger has crashed again. That's something else. I might, because I've been meaning to look back at it for a while. Oh, but did it keep its spot? No, it bounced to the bottom. Hi there. Thanks for the great pictures. Out of curiosity, I'm curious how old you are. It's good to see you again smiling. And yeah, see, you can see the plastic at the top, but that might be the kind I would prefer. Like I said, I can put it on and then it would just be kind of more of an under thing. Is the front part attached, and do you feel like it necessary? I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be kind of, like I said, the preferred type. And actually, in the other pictures, like the ones with the straps, I don't notice it as much. Like the second one, the plastic. But I wouldn't like the feel of it on my skin. Even kind of like it would. It's not a feeling I'm used to have. And I mean, some people say you get used to it, but I can be sensitive. But I'd probably put a shirt on and then be right underneath and leave it really. I tried to send a clip earlier. I don't remember what else I may have said. I know my supposed was kind of working and about to play a bit of piano before work. But Messenger's being a bit wonky, but hopefully this sends through. Dealing with some health issues. I know I'd mentioned that there was a couple of things I wanted to do. I've kind of done them now. I guess the tablet wasn't plugged in overnight. It's at 39%. I am rolling on YouTube, if you might be curious to come check that out. And after all that, and the other one does suddenly show back up, but it hasn't sent. Okay, well, I let him know. My other option, I'm surprised, like I say, she hadn't mentioned it sooner, and this and that. So, this probably won't be that much longer. I don't know what to do. All I know is, I'm not likely to get back to sleep, and it's going to be a long day, and it's not. So, I think earlier in this, I did say, like you've been happy to see this back. Curious what my last video may be if this, if my health really takes a downward spiral, so to speak. I did mention, that there are the good things that I appreciate. And I think that he'd already realized, or anybody I know would already realize that I feel like I have my angels in heaven, and as much as I can feel them around sometimes in that, and really sometimes, not all the time, but they probably are there. I just it's not in tune sometimes. But it's kind of like I would be so happy to be there with them. And there's this thing. It's comforting, and why not believe it? And I think it'd be true of how when we pass away, we don't have our health problems of any sort. So he'd be able to. Him and others would be able to realize. And yes, it's long and it might be hard. I'll just say I've been doing some really helpful videos, and I don't necessarily have to say how helpful, why helpful. And if anything was to happen to me, maybe he'd look and say, I know I have friends being supportive or whatever, but I'm curious what he meant by helpful, and I could use some help. I try and be strong, but I could use some help. And then you'll see. So at the beginning, I did. I and in some of the other videos, I've tried to say, that I have good stuff happening too. Part of me wants to sit and think. What I'd really like to do. So that's kind of I did. More than I may have here on this. I got some empathy and some conversation out of it, whereas this health-based one would just be, what are your symptoms, and this is what it could be. And wow, it's only 9 o'clock. There's not a lot of milk in that coffee. It doesn't look like it. I have to bring that down. I have a lot of stuff to bring down, actually. Well, that has a handle. Of course, I had to go down and get that. Well, I didn't have to, but I'll have to watch this back. What was it I said? Was they cover ambulance rides, I think. And yeah, I'm not there yet as far as wanting to do that. Some of the stuff I could worry about later. Although I might want my socks. Good to get this bottle down there. I want the heating pad. I want my devices. If I can't do it all in one trip, I'll just have to say what's the most important stuff. I mean, I kind of came up here with a lot of stuff. But I have some guesses, and I think they're pretty good. Assessment, triage, and healthcare advice to individuals of all ages. And I don't need to record it, but it might be helpful to do this. And part of it is because the other person I live with, and the dog, and a few other things or people in life, not a lot, but make me want to be proactive and not knowing things. I have some rough ideas, and also, like I said, I don't feel like I could actually end it myself, but that I'm somewhat okay if my health does. But like I say, this is prolonged, and I don't really want to be experiencing the things I'm feeling. So, I mean, knowing what I can do to help with that, and I get so distracted when I'm online, and helpful that videos, and I don't know how to do it, sorry, and I don't even know how easy it would be in various ways to do it, but chaptering, and nobody's here at the moment, but then because there was one I watched the other day and it was about different organs, I was able to skip some of the ones that were not my gender, but And I know that the dog's been in there and he knows I'm home and this and that, but he's comfortable, though he'd been in there all night. It hadn't been that long. And he went in there kind of because of the muffin thing. Like, he shouldn't be helping himself to things on plates, on surfaces, even if he can reach them. But, it's bright and early, even though it's kind of gray out. I bet you it's brighter in the bedroom than I thought. And knowing how I felt this morning, I know it sounds so weird. You'd think being comfortable in bed, why wouldn't you be? But it's kind of like I'd been in bed for 7 or 8 hours. Of course, a lot of that's sleeping. I think trying to suppress, I had some thoughts of some things I want to do today. And one of the things that didn't come up in the call, I don't think I'll mention it here, and I don't know what it looks like. Probably just browsing the internet a little bit, possibly talking with this guy, but Messenger suddenly being wonky. I know the other day I came very close to restarting the device, and then suddenly it was fine. So he's online. I also have chats. He was okay talking in comments, but then eventually he said, message me. So, I don't imagine his performance with it, but I just like some answers. That I don't really feel like I got from the doctor for whatever reason. So I'll do this quickly. It'll eat up some of the day. Then I'll relax for a bit. And then I'll eat the rest of the Chinese food. Some people may say MSGs, blah, blah, blah. It was really just rice. Yeah, chow mein. So there could be that, and eating things that I'm not super used to. But I feel like I was experiencing the chest thing and the back thing beforehand. No, and the hand thing would be a weird. And then it's some vegetables that I don't eat very often. And how bad can those be? Like I said, it's been a couple of weeks, and it was just like 2 or 3 days ago we ordered it. But it was the chromostasis for a number of days. But I do think there's some other things. So, okay, I'm just going to take a few moments here just to breathe and slow down for a bit, because I don't want to hop right in from one to the other. At times, deep breathing has been a bit challenging. I know some people say, "Oh, you're one of those stubborn ones that doesn't want to get." Well, clearly I do, and won't do all the things you should do. And the reasons for that sometimes are because as much as you can have some happiness in life, there are some things that make you very disappointed, very depressed, to the point where you don't care that much. There are also limitations, physical, accessibility, sometimes cost. So it's. But yeah, there were times recently where I felt like I couldn't take a deep breath without my chest hurting. I've only used this a couple times. I don't know what the wait time will be like either. So, like, hello, was there? I thought it was somebody right away. This is emergency. Go to nearest emergency. I have to go to French. And I already got the videos for tomorrow because we've been doing the anagrams. Oh, for tonight, rather. I don't know if that's really going to say anything. Oh. 161 Yeah. Yeah. 204-942-2811. I would imagine both symptoms and information. Me. 17092-023. So 17, yeah, 092-023. One zero two seven. One seven 092-023. Registration number, maybe it's not in a minute. I have two of them because my one was not in great condition, but they might not be quite exactly the same. So, yeah, that one, because they don't laminate them, of course. That one backside, it's like got corners missing, but I don't think, you said it starts with the one. I don't see anything else starting with the one. Yeah, like I say, this card is in such bad shape that I don't think that it. CORYREID. Oh, this isn't as anonymous as I thought it was going to be. But November 686. RE. Yeah. It'd be an old one. We don't have a number assigned to us that would be that number. Yeah, but the one I gave you is the one that is accurate. 220 Oakland. I think. Wow. She asked for a lot of. She said it's well protected, but it's not anonymous. And I had to verify by giving my old address. Hello? Hello? So I'm just on hold, but you're welcome to stay and weigh in. Now they transfer to a nurse. I didn't know this card was in such bad shape. And now I have actually lost the coverage card. It was in there. I guess I took it out. I don't know where I put it. I didn't even see the health card I just had. Oh, there's that. Margaret. Me. I guess I haven't called the same route. I guess I figured that's what I needed to and it seems like I'm gonna have to replace the house with Corey. Agreed. November 6th. Yeah. Yeah, number. So sorry if this is not necessarily super sequential, but basically it might be worth mentioning. I don't know. I feel like we might not be being completely accurate or necessarily. Whether it's because of my age or because maybe other things I got some tests done, basic tests that apparently have quite a few things, about a month ago. And that's one thing that I'm a little bit uncertain what to think about is you seem to be saying the other day that the recent test did not show anything bad, for the most part, but I'm wondering, are they recent enough? Basically, he didn't, there's been some things that he hasn't done in my last two appointments, which are a little odd. One of them maybe a bit more worrisome than others. Basically, he hasn't checked my weight, but I'm also not obese. I often say I have a bit of a Buddha belly, but I don't look like like an unhealthy weight. I don't think I've gained a lot of weight over the past while. He also does not put the stethoscope to the heart. And one of the things that I mentioned the other day to him was feeling a tight chest. Now, the previous time that I'd seen him, which would have been early February, we diagnosed what I went along with and thought could be the case as possibly having, I don't know if I'll say it right, but chromostasis or something like that, inflammation of the chest, essentially. And he gave me an ointment. I asked for a mild-ish one, and I found that it was too mild almost, so it wasn't really doing anything. I was using it a little bit, but I was also using another rub that I don't know if it was just that, like it kind of makes it slightly like feel like a burning sensation and kind of distracts you from the other feeling. And so, but anyway, basically, but I would say, I was talking to somebody on a mental health line a little earlier this morning, and I would say that since the testings, first of all, I would say that this inflammation thing, I think it has improved a little bit, but there's some other stuff going on, and I'm not exactly sure what. And he really wasn't either. One of the things I was mentioning, and I would say that some of them weren't necessarily going on when I got the test last time. But today is not necessarily great weather for me to walk over there and get other tests done, and I'd have to get them booked with him. I could do that by phone. But one of the things, so I guess if I'm starting from, and because I know that the body and things it does can sometimes connect or whatever, I have been feeling generally weak. The symptoms seem to fluctuate a bit, but for the past almost 2 weeks, and I don't have a super active lifestyle. I know that there are some things that I can try and work on, like eating a more balanced diet, because I eat a lot of carbs. They're easy, and I I'm picky. I am a little bit picky. It's true. I have been eating a little bit better this week. And so, my body might be trying to adjust to that. In fact, the thought crossed my head that one of the things that I have eaten recently, but some of this stuff I've noticed since before then, was Chinese food. And I know some people say that there can be a lot of MSGs in that, but the stuff, I don't know if what I had would have that. Anyway, basically, so just general weakness. I feel like my organs are possibly doing something that may be reversible. I don't know. And I also feel like I might have anemia, based on the little I know about that. But basically, the other thing that I've noticed, he kind of, I feel the other day did kind of pinpoint this in a way that I think made sense, as I've been having numbness in my hands and sometimes stiffness. And he said that could be, I don't know the difference between arthritis and carpal tunnel. I think my spouse tried to tell me the other day, but I don't know if I remember. But he said it might be carpal tunnel, and it might be. I've also noticed tenderness in my feet sometimes, not like pain, but almost feels like somebody's like a constant like pressure being applied, almost like a massage. And it's also not constant, but sometimes it can last for an hour or so. And yeah, basically, so the tightness in the chest, I feel it feels different than the thing I had before. Couple times I've noticed in the past couple of days, especially, I didn't notice it when I drank coffee last night, but when I drink and I'd have to look back and process it, but I accessed Meta chat and told them some of them, and they look like they may have said something helpful, but I'd have to look at it again. But it felt like, especially with water, like it was like I was feeling it on my lungs or something, or in the chat, feeling it different than I normally would drinking water. The only, and I realized that, this is a number of things. The only other thing is, now I have a back condition, scoliosis, mildly. It doesn't usually cause me that much difficulty, but I mean, if I'm straining, it does. But I don't have a super active lifestyle. I mean, that's something that the doctor did suggest was, being a bit more active. I'm looking forward to getting my bike out, but it's kind of still winter, even though it should be spring, or it feels like it should be. But basically, so I mean, I'm not disagreeing with some of the stuff he said, but one of the big ones felt to me like, a test from about a month-ish ago would be, like I said, I worried if I might have diabetes, and he was pretty much saying, oh, well, you would have known back then. But I'm not so sure. I mean, blood sugars and the things that the body does can change fairly rapidly, as far as I would say. I think the only other one I haven't mentioned, sorry, it's been a lot. I've been noticing a little bit of like a sensitive stomach, but that could just be something I've eaten, or I don't think I have a flu bug. It doesn't really, and it fluctuates. Like I'll go a few hours sometimes when I'm feeling all right. But the lower kind of back and sides, like from my knowledge, it's where the kidneys are. Is I did tell him this the other day. I said it's not exactly sore, or it's not painful, but it's tender. Like it's, and sometimes I don't even have, because that's something he'll sometimes do, is he'll kind of sit and press around and say, does this hurt? Does this hurt? And it says it depends on the moment. It varies. But that sometimes you don't even have to touch it and it feels tender. But with the chest part, it's kind of like below the ribs. I don't know if it's still a little bit of the chromostasis. And that, so basically, I wanted to call. That's the one. Yeah. And so I just wanted to see by these descriptions, as best as I've given them, if I can basically get a second opinion from the doctor, and as to what may be going on and what maybe I can do for myself to, I guess, alleviate the discomfort. I've been taking one or two Tylenols a day. Sometimes it doesn't really seem to make a difference. And I've been using a heating pad. And, drinking water, I drink quite a bit of water anyway. So I don't think what I might be is deficient in something. I mentioned that to him the other day, actually. And he said, I get the vibe from him sometimes, rightly or wrongly, where, like, not that I've met him a lot, but like, I guess it is common that a lot of people might be deficient in one or two of the specific vitamins or areas of deficiencies. So I think he was suggesting vitamin D, which, people say you can get that naturally from the sun. And like I say, if I can manage to change my diet a bit better, but I think I have something called my mom got it, and and so I probably have that. So I mean, like, I'm not a full-on vegetarian, but I don't cook a lot of meat or eat it really that often. And so I know I do a lot of carbs. I don't do a lot of fried food. I don't do a lot of fast food. But yeah, so it's that's some of my background and what I'm going through in a big long spiel. Sorry about that.
Okay, so again, I mean, the way that you're describing your symptoms, okay, I mean, sometimes it can feel like, I mean, I'm not explaining what the doctors actually were, okay, but with these kind of symptoms, okay, that are very kind of like in a way non-specific, okay, in the sense that it doesn't sound like urgent in a way that it's actually causing you to be like with the weakness, right? You said feeling generally weak. It's kind of like on and off for almost like 2 weeks. You said, right?
Well, most noticeably, but I mean, I probably have had a level of chronic fatigue syndrome for longer. Um, Truth be told, I have been, um, some things in life are good, but I have been kind of stuck in my life in some areas. So have been, I have, I think my body is maybe kind of catching up to me living that way. We also have had our long winters where maybe he wasn't getting out as much anyway. And yeah, so it could be, like I say, being a bit more active. But the thing about that, aside from like, yeah, is that I can only do what my body feels it can do. So I mean,
So again, if this is kind of like an ongoing symptom and it's kind of like months and months and you're noticing it like it seems to be like most noticeable in the last 2 weeks, right?
yeah, almost
Whether
daily the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
they do any testing was a month ago, right? Which doesn't cover the last 2 weeks at that point. And just to answer your question bluntly in terms of like getting a second opinion, you can definitely get a second opinion, right? With any doctors in the city, okay? But whether they would do like X, Y, and Z test, right? It's entirely up to the doctor as well, who's going to be assessing.
Well, that's why I called, because I don't drive, and part of the reason that we have this particular doctor is the accessibility. And so there's no, I mean, I could go to a walking clinic on a day that's a little bit nicer, maybe, but um, other than that, I mean, yeah, like I figured, I remembered this line, and I thought maybe I can get some answers calling here. And yeah, I just like to figure out kind of. I mean, in a way, maybe I already do have a lot of the answers.
Okay, and the thing about these kind of symptoms, okay, they do take a while, right, for you to kind of like recover from them. If it was costochondritis, right,
Hmm.
typically, I mean, usually when the doctor kind of like speak to a patient, right, they'll figure out like what's their kind of like diagnosis, right? What are they suspecting that it's kind of like really heart related, or is it more of like muscle, bones, kind of the chest?
Yeah, he seems to be under the impression that there's nothing wrong with organs or my blood. Like I say, right now it feels kind of like a mystery. And the only things I feel like he kind of diagnosed the other day was the carpal tunnel. He said that I might have a pinched muscle, but I don't think that's what this feels like. I don't feel like they call it a pinched nerve or whatever because it feels like a pinching. This is more tender. I feel honestly like it might be, and I was watching something the other day that said that this can be reversible with various things. I can't remember what they were at the moment, but that it might be cirrhosis of the liver or something like I say about the kidneys, and that they might. I think he did. I don't remember. I feel like he may have said that my organs may just be. Um, I forget what he said. Something about slowing down a little bit or something like that. But at the same time, and I guess I understand it when I think about it. Like he didn't want to get me worried, but kind of too late. I already am. It's kind of like I think he was trying to say that. Well, yeah, he was trying to. I guess not, but I do wonder if I have early warning symptoms of some things. Yeah.
Symptoms, right? That can be related to the liver, to the heart, those kind of things. Okay, but usually what like medical professionals would look at, okay, would be like the combination of symptoms, right? If it's let's say you're having numbness, stiffness, those kind of things, or are you having any other symptoms that would direct them to think or suspect that it might be your liver that's causing this? Don't see that, right? Or if the symptoms are not severe enough. Okay, I'm not saying that we want it to be severe before we say such and such, but the thing is, they only go by the symptoms that you're saying, okay, and what they're seeing as well, okay?
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're concerned about those kind of symptoms, did you tell the doctor a couple of days?
Well, to the best to the best of my ability. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, people can have more than one thing going on, and like I say, things can connect or whatever. And I do. I think for the first time, told him that I feel like I've noticed symptoms of fibromyalgia, mostly in my legs, which again, not being only having some medical knowledge, I believe that that has to do with circulation, and so it could also be being experienced in my hands and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like it's a good. I mean, as much as I would like to have some employment, I feel like it's probably a good thing that. I mean, I think if we were to have looked you know, like 2 months or longer ago, I possibly could have been employed, but I don't think I would be. I mean, depending on what it was, like I feel like my ability to do much uh, has been diminished. Like I just feel weak.
Doctor about that as well?
Um, Not in those words, but I guess I, like that is a common symptom of anemia. I did kind of say I wondered if it might be anemia. He seemed to be kind of feeling like it wasn't, but didn't really say why. And again, worth a second opinion maybe. And with these other things that I'm going through, yeah, maybe that's the reason. Plus, just general stress. But I would say that I didn't. When I had the chromastitis or whatever it is, every time I hear that word, I think of the Chrome browser. But I wasn't having these other symptoms. I don't feel like, or not as not as prolonged, not as noticeably.
If you're having symptoms, right, you always tell them, whoever healthcare provider is speaking to, what's the effect of it to your overall like day-to-day activity? Whether is it keeping you awake? Is it keeping you in terms of doing your normal work? How bad is it?
I guess sometimes it's hard too because I mean I said that as far as like the feeling on my lower back to side. I says it depends on the moment, and I guess I should have said that's kind of with a lot of these things. But when I was there at the time, I mean, I felt a little bit, but I was feeling mostly okay. So I didn't necessarily. I may have forgotten some stuff. It's true. Yeah,
Really rule that out in terms of like the blood work, right? If they see like your red blood cell count, your hemoglobin might be low on the
right.
low end.
And I realize some things can look like other things too, like the CFS could, like just the low energy that could again it could be anemia or not. I know that one thing that's kind of came up with my spouse recently is that because I don't know if my spouse has that too, perhaps, but is that like the other day, for instance, I could touch things in the house that felt room temperature, and my spouse thought they were quite cold. So I got worried about my spouse, and my spouse got all worked up about that. But it's kind of like I do have, and I think this is a symptom of anemia. I do have experiences where it's like I get really warm, and then sometimes I have a hard time warming up. Mostly, I feel like I overheat fairly easily, as opposed to feeling cold. But I mean, if I was, like I'm not a fan of winter, but I think it's also that I've been here 16, 18 years from Ontario. So, I mean, we have different winters there. Like, because I was actually saying that to my spouse today, I was actually born in November, but in a different winter climate. But yeah, it's kind of like I am sensitive to it. And I mean, some people are, and that kind of thing could go undiagnosed. You just think, oh, I'm just sensitive to the cold. But is it something else?
Something that's kind of like particular in terms of like it is the thing is if there's a pattern specifically, okay, or in terms of like if there's difference in your skin color as well, right? In terms of feeling cold or warm or whatnot, right? If it's changing your skin, discoloration and all that. But ultimately though, okay, if you're feeling these symptoms, Corey, did the doctor say like again, obviously you didn't tell them or the doctor that you saw a couple of days ago, all the other symptoms, but did they say about any follow up at all and all that? Like,
Um, I mean, it's probably pretty common, and I think that this is the way that he was operating. Whereas if I wanted to book an appointment, then that's my choice to do so. Like I was talking to someone earlier today, and I know it's not that late in the day, but and basically, like he didn't seem to be thinking it was necessary to get any tests done again. Part of that could be because they looked okay, what he was seeing. But it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I have some ambivalency, but I don't like the discomfort and I'd like to know what's going on. And so it's kind of like, I feel like at the end of the day, or, at the end of an appointment, like what the patient wants is what he should deliver. And if that's book or giving me something so that I can go get the tests again, then that's what it is. So, and when I keep thinking about how I feel like some of these things, like I got those tests early to mid-February which is about a month and a half, I guess, because at the time we didn't know what the problem was with the chest. And we started with x-rays actually. And he said even those would show if there was any organ issues. And everything was fine. Everything was fine. And it's like, but when I actually slow down or I'm describing it to somebody or thinking about it, and I'm thinking, comparing then to now, it's different. There's something different going on, and I just don't know what. I mean, we have guesses, obviously. So it might at the moment, and I'm surprised because I've been on the phone a couple times this morning. I very very mildly so, but again, that could be different within the hour or whatever.
in terms of tightness of the chest, okay, so you're having it at the moment. Are you having like shortness of breath?
Interestingly, last night for like I've definitely been noticing things going on, and I don't know if I'm just becoming more aware or attuned to it. Because last night, like I don't seem to have a cough, but there's been a couple times, like more than usual. There's been a couple times, I would say a few days ago was the last time, where it's like I don't feel strongly like I have to cough, but like it could be helpful, but a cough doesn't come kind of thing. But last night I noticed that yes, like or and like I say a couple times recently where it's kind of like getting a deep breath. This morning oddly hasn't been too bad. I almost thought that it would be, but it is so shallow breathing, yes. And I don't. This is also something that I am actually noticing slightly as I'm speaking here. That so for the past few days when this has all been occurring, I feel like, and I feel so stupid that I don't even know what side the heart's on, but I have a guess, and of course I could feel for it. But it's mostly been soreness on the left side. One thing I did tell him is that when and I've been kind of sleeping with the heating pad a little bit, like, when I'm first starting to try and sleep, laying on my right side, sometimes I can't do it for as long as I used to be able to. I mean, I'm in a relationship, and so usually before we completely fall asleep, we like to turn over to the side that we're not on. But I'm feeling like past while I'm having to do it quicker because I'm feeling like a tightness and a pull on my left side. But then when I lay on that side, it's kind of like the pressure is evenly distributed, so it alleviates. I don't seem to be noticing it as much on the right side, but at times it's like the whole chest. But at times I would say it's more the chest, and at other times it feels like it's kind of below the rib cage. So on the left side at the moment, closer to the front than I would say my back. And I don't know if this is maybe where the appendix is, and I don't even know if I still have my appendix. Some people get it removed. I don't have a scar, so I'm thinking I probably do. It feels, how would I describe it? Again, a tenderness without even touching it sometimes. And sometimes it seems to be kind of creeping towards like the front of my stomach. And it honestly, if I, because this is something that people sometimes get, and it sort of feels like that. It almost feels like I don't know what type of stone, but like a kidney stone or gallstone thing. And it's like kind of pressing or poking, but then maybe it's shrinking a little bit or whatever, which is why it's not always noticeable, if that's possible.
Okay, if they're small enough, okay, even if you develop kidney stones, you might feel that pain. Like you can feel an excruciating pain, and then it goes away. Okay, it doesn't make any like it doesn't linger on, and then you can pass it on your own. Okay, and you
Right.
feel fine afterwards. Okay, it's those kidney stones that you would be really concerned in terms of like if there's like tenderness, especially the again right flank area or lower